James Fortune, current owner of Bellevue Delgany, County Wicklow, tells us about the original house built in 1754 by David LaTouche and the amazing gardens that were at Bellevue, which were famous around the world, the remains of which can still be seen today.
This was laid out as a forcing area for bringing on flowers out of season. This was the gardener's house here. John Pennick was the gardener, head gardener, and he designed this according to John Ferrer's book from 1796. He designed this ingenious system of heating the forcing houses. You can still see one of the glass houses. You can see the outline of the roof. You can see the line there of the wall. Very steep. And this was the edge of the wall. And the back of the wall would have been like thermal sort of heat. Yeah, this would have been glass going up. Shape of it there. So this is the head gardener's house here. Demolished then. You can see that the quarry tiles are still on the floor. A flue system with the glass house there, another glass house here, and another one running across there. So that's where the tall grasses. So anyway, the most important structure here that would have been the range of glass conservatories. They were 264 feet long, and these were the retaining walls. And this one here, as described in John Ferrer's book of 1796, he listed all the major plants. There was a grape house, peach house, various houses, and the glass work is held by a wooden frame. They hadn't yet developed carved glass. So the conservatories were attached to the main mansion house. They were 264 feet long, and this was in Ferrer's book he describes this as the Grand Conservatory, and he said it was like the hull of a ship. And in those days, it was finished before John Ferrer visited. He visited 1795, so it was finished before he arrived here. The outline of a chimney, and below that chimney there was a steam boiler, a very early steam boiler. And in this Grand Conservatory there was a full-sized date palm and another palm tree. They had all sorts of exotic plants from all over the world, which was amazing for the time in the 1700s. And this structure here was a little building, and I believe that a trainee or a gardener, a young chap, would have stayed all night there during the winter because he would have to keep feeding
The fire
boiler and the flues with wood to keep the fires going, otherwise the plants would die. And this fence here, Mark, my son, has restored some of them, like that one there. They would have had a flap that you could open and close in the summertime to allow the glass house to cool down. And these steps would have taken it from the forcing area out to the formal garden. There's a network of pathways. You could walk all around the formal gardens. These were terrace lawns, and here there was a well to feed the house, and a lily pool, a gravel path. Box hedges are probably original, but I would imagine that these palms could have been planted later in the Victorian period. I'm not sure.
Okay,
this is a lily pool here.
Lily pool.
And there's a little step going down into it. Here was one of the main wells which fed the mansion house, which was down at the corner near, just to the left of where that horse is standing. And when I was planting these box pyramids, I discovered one of the holes I dug, I discovered a lead pipe, and I traced it then from here, from this well, right down to the house. To the end of the glass, where the glass work ended. So the glass houses, and the glass work and the framework ended here, and this was the next terrace, and they ran from here right down and around the corner. The circular part coming out there was the edge of the Grand Conservatory. For about 20 feet wide and about 20 feet high as well. They say you could walk from, according to the book, you could walk from Mrs. LaTouche's bathroom or bedroom, I don't know which, into the conservatories and all the way up. We have photographs actually from the Victorian period of some of the internal walls and paths inside in the glass houses. One writer wrote that there were 100 at table and they danced till 5 in the morning. Queen Victoria's Prime Minister, Lord Melbourne, he was having problems in his marriage and he came to Ireland and he met one of the LaTouche girls, and he was one of the guests that was here. Dancing all night. Dancing till 5. Here there would have been granite steps. There's actually only one left. They dug them all, somebody dug them all up. The curve here, this would have been, this brick here would be the retaining wall. And then inside here, there are curved granite, large granite slabs. One there and one there. This is a cistern that John Ferrer in his book from 1795, or sorry, when he visited here in August 1795, he described this as a cistern where they collected the water from the roofs, and it would have been collected here in this cistern. It's about 8 feet deep, and it has granite steps going down around it. Yeah, that's the other side of the vents. If you're up there in the ladder, you'd nearly get blown off it at certain times of the year because the heat sort of rises. I can't remember. That's a gristlevinia. It would originally have been like a hedge. These are old roses. They're still alive.
Oh, wow.
Probably original. There's a network of paths coming up here, and at each terrace, each slope, they had granite steps. They're terrace lawns. It was a landscape feature from that period, yeah, the Georgian period. The tunnel, there's a west-facing tunnel and a south-facing tunnel. They're landscape features.
Yeah.
And when you went through the tunnel, it was like the element of surprise. It was a completely
The
new
sublime.
vista, to the Wicklow Mountains and then to the south. It ended here. It went into the house. The house was 2 stories over basement, and they say that it came from, according to John Ferrer, from Mrs. LaTouche's either bathroom or bedroom in the house, and it curved around, and this is mainly facing south, so it would have got the main sun, the heat from the sun. And the octagon, there was a pathway going up to the octagon and another path coming around. There was a Turkish tent in that direction, and then Downs Hill was a Bronze Age hill fort. That was.
Okay.
Was that by the octagon or
In the
It was actually in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they just been having like a panther would come out.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a black jaguar. I think, but it was it was a stuffed one, but it looked real because it was on springs and it jumped out as it came in the door. So the chapel was much taller, and it had brick, handmade brick niches. There were 4 of them, and it was laid out in the shape of a Greek cross. There were columns, 4 columns. They sat on these Portland stones. the altar was on that side facing east to the sea. This would have been the end of the conservatory wall here, going into the house.
Is that the house there?
This would have been the one corner of the house, and the steps going down
This-
into the basement.
Uh,
And then there was another story above that. And there was a tunnel running about 120 feet long, I think, by about 50 feet wide, something like that.
And oh, it's a shame these are grown over the beautiful windows here, isn't it, Dad? How come they had these gorgeous big windows in the basement? How come?
Sorry?
How come they had this kind of basement path and big windows?
Well, it was for light into the kitchens and the
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. So the kitchen was in the basement. When Dad cleared them off, they were gorgeous. You can't see them really now, but they're big windows.
I think it's about 70 feet wide on this end and 50 on the other end.
And this is all faced in granite, isn't it?
Well, it's stone, but I'm not sure if it's granite. There are granite features, and this tunnel here continues underground. And
Have you been into that tunnel?
yeah, I have.
I don't know if I've been in that one. How many tunnels are there, or is it all
The
linked?
tunnel continues right round.
Is
the
this
house.
the one that goes under over there?
But this is an ancient feature, this hill fort. That was a Bronze Age hill fort,
You-
from Bronze Age, maybe 2,500 BC. Then it would have become an Iron Age fort then. Bronze Age hill fort. When the Vikings came to Ireland, came to Dublin, they made this the southernmost boundary of Dublin. And King Sitric of Dublin, the Viking King Sitric, was involved in a battle, the Battle of Clontarf in 1014. They say that Brian Boru won the battle, but he ended up dead. And King Sitric, the Viking King of Dublin, in 1022 came out here for a big battle with the new or
King of
current
Leinster.
King of Leinster.
Ugara, wasn't it? Ugara
Yeah, I
was his
don't know how
name.
you pronounce it.
Ugara.
But anyway, this would have been the Viking. They would have been. We believe that they were using this hill fort, and the King of Leinster came up to the hill fort on the other side of the Glen of Downs,
On Downs Hill.
Downs Hill. There's a little robin there, see.
Oh yeah.
Downs Hill, and we think the battle. This is Bellevue's equidistant between the two Bronze Age hill forts, and the Vikings would have been here, we think, and the King of Leinster over there. So the native Irish were trying to get the Vikings out of Dublin, but they didn't succeed because, again, King Sitric won this battle. They most likely had what we call Kerry bog ponies. They would have been the native breed at the time, and then the Vikings actually brought those to Iceland. They became the Icelandic horses. King Sitric won the battle and still retained his seat in Dublin. And then in 1172, that was 1022, the Battle of Delgany. Then in 1172, the Normans came. They arrived in Ireland with Dermot Morrow in 1169 in Wexford.
Isn't it?
Yeah, David LaTouche II. His dad arrived for the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, and he came and settled in Dublin and started a bank. Okay, well, the groom's house. There were two areas where the grooms would have lived. This was the main groom's house, and to the left, under the arch, that was a heated tack room. And there's a little fireplace and flues built into the walls, and the fireplace heated the walls where the tack was hanging, the leather. Arch here was blocked up at some stage. That was a sunken avenue going out to Ballydonnell Lane, and the work carts went out that way. The carriages went out the main entrance. The coach house, and that was the biggest coach house there.
Oh, lovely. And was this stables then?
Yeah, and these were still.
And the stables and...
One part of the building is completely widened just for the mare and foal box to accommodate the mare while she was foaling and having her foal. There are groom's quarters living where the groom would have lived above to come down, you know, to help the mare. That where the Roman arch is, that would have been the entrance into the mare and foal box.
It's really lovely, isn't it?
And you can see, you asked me about the openings. If you look at each, like this is a door opening here. On the other opposite
Outside
wall, there's
wall.
a corresponding door opening. And the same with the windows. You can see the arches here and there.
Oh,
And these were granite slabs where the horse walked in the passageway, and then inside where the horse stood, there are herringbone brick floors, and this is a granite drainage system.
Okay.
David LaTouche the first came to Ireland in 1690, and then his son, he started a bank in Dublin. Then his son inherited the bank, David II, his eldest son, and he had another son called James, and he, where did he go to? He left Ireland and went to the Caribbean, I think. He might have been involved in sugar plantations and possibly slave trading. This branch of the family were into banking, not slave trading, as some people suggest.
And
They had an estate in France in the Loire Valley, near a place called Blois, B-L-O-I-S, I don't know how you pronounce it. And after the Edict of Nantes, when Louis XIV had problems with the French Huguenots, David LaTouche the first, as a teenager, he left France and went to Holland to find his uncle, and his uncle got him a position in the army. He was a cavalry officer, I think, in the army of Prince William of Orange. And then when he was invited to England to the Glorious Revolution, David LaTouche came with him and then they chased his father-in-law to King James II, I think it was, to the Battle of the Boyne. And David was on the winning side, David LaTouche, and with the money he received and his fellow soldiers received, he started a bank in Dublin.
wow.
It was all successful from there on. It seemed to end at the time of the First World War. That seemed to be the very end of the LaTouches in Ireland.
and David Frame pulled it down.
Yeah, he bought the place and demolished it then in either 40s or 50s, I'm not sure. Demolished the main house. Just slightly south of here, she had a girls' school in the village. Sorry, she had a girl and boys' school in the village, and she had a orphan girls' school on the estate here. The schoolhouse, they say, is still there, and there were other buildings, but they've been demolished.
The schoolhouse.
They say that Mrs. LaTouche was very. They say that Mrs. LaTouche was very good to the employees.
Oh,
She
they were
looked after them well.
humanitarian sort of people,
And in
philanthropists.
the orphan girls' school, find suitable husbands for the girls and give them a dowry to marry. And she brought them to church every Sunday. The church that Peter LaTouche, the
Can,
guy who lived here, built for the locals.